Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Where? What? Benny Hill? Get the hell out of here, Benny Hill. This is an interview with Mik Enjo from Creative Source. And we're going to get creative today, ladies and gentlemen. So let's kick off the show with a track from Mik Enjo's latest single. This is I Don't Buy.
Met an old man by the sea. I met a man of mystery. He looked so happy and so poor. Didn't seem he wanted more. He had no shoes, he had no style. I had the blues, he wore a smile. I asked him how this came to be. He was laughing as he said to me, I don't buy what I've been sold. Happiness is made of gold, or another one can fill your soul. No, I don't buy what I've been sold, and I don't buy what I've been taught. They laid the trap, now you've been caught. Slowly dying with a thought that you've been killed by what you bore. We walked a while along the beach. The sand and water on our feet. The sky was gold, though I was gray. And this is what he had to say. Can you use your eyes? Can you smell the air? Is the breeze still blowing through your hair? These things are here and they are so. And this is all you have to know. And I don't buy what I've been sold. Happiness is made of gold, or another one can fill your soul. No, I don't buy what I've been sold. And I don't buy what I've been taught. They laid the trap, now you've been caught. Slowly dying with a thought that you've been killed by what you bore.
Slow down, you know. Slow down, you're home. Slow down, you know. Slow
I don't buy what I've been sold. That happiness is made of gold, or another one can fill your soul. No, I don't buy what I've been sold, and I don't buy what I've been taught. They laid the trap, now you're caught. Slowly dying with a thought that you've been killed by what you bore. I don't buy what I've been sold. That happiness is made of gold, or another one can fill your soul. No, I don't buy what I've been sold. And I don't buy what I've been taught. They laid the trap, now you've been caught. Slowly dying with a thought.
Yo, 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 ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's Friday morning here in Australia. It's probably Thursday for most of you people around the rest of the world. My name is Jade, and you are watching How to App on iOS. And it's Friday for me, so it's interview day today, and we have the amazingly creative, the amazingly musical, the amazing teacher. This man creates music through his ups and downs, his roller coaster of life, and teaches people at the same time. So I would like to welcome to the show someone who I've wanted to have on for the longest time, even though this show's only been going for 2 months. So it's really awesome to have with me today. Welcome to the show, Mik Enjo. G'day, Mike.
G'day, Jade. What a great introduction. It's nice to have that introduction because last night, just as I was going off to bed and I was talking to Susie, she said, "You might be good on DAWs, but you're no guru." Right? So it's nice to wake up and someone says, "He's a great teacher."
You
Like,
are,
"Yeah, but
definitely.
I'm no
Well,
guru."
you're somebody who's inspired me to do this. You know, so you and Pete Johns.
Really?
There's a,
Yeah, he's awesome, isn't he? He's in
yeah,
the chat there,
of
but
course
being rude
he's
to
getting
me.
revenge.
What up? He does this nice thing on camera to people, you know, and everyone's, Pete Johns, he's so nice all the time, but really
I know.
behind the scenes, as a mate, I don't
He's
know,
a
he
dirty
falls
bird.
short a little bit.
I've met him in real life, and
Yeah, I know.
dodgy fella. Let me
I
tell you that. So let's say good day to the folks in the chat. We have a damn lot of people.
I heard he's an
Yeah, well,
alcoholic.
I met him actually around this time in the morning for a coffee, and he did pull out a small bottle of port.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I know. Yeah. Likes cricket too. Likes cricket. That's probably why he's an alcoholic, because he likes cricket. It's turned
Don't you
into
like cricket?
alcoholism.
I love it too, man.
No, I do. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say good day to folks in the chat. Damien R, welcome to the show. Benedict Stewart, Langston Reese, Love Buzz, Russ, Scott, Tom Rochelle, SM Borthwick, Stu Cash. Who else is here that I haven't said yet? Pete Johns, whoever that guy is. So there we go. Said hello to a few people there. Welcome to the show. David, welcome to the show as well. Six String Gunner. Keith Lane. Good to see you. Gary Hubbs. Cold Acre. G'day, my friend. And that's the greetings for the moment. Let's get down and ask you some questions, because that's what we're here to. We're here to throw you on the virtual grill. All right, into the web.
I'm ready.
Mik Enjo, what does music mean to you?
Oh, good. What a pretentious question. I mean, God's sake. You've done like 27 episodes
27.
already.
This is 44, I think. Holy crap.
Well, okay, so it means an awful lot to me. And then at the same time, I sometimes think musicians take it way too seriously. Especially the danger when you do it like as we do, when it becomes such a big part of your life, especially if you're a writer, I think, is what do you write about if all you do is music, right? So very important, I think, to experience other parts of life as well. So when people come in, you see them on these TV shows, like X Factor or whatever, music's everything to me. I'm like, get a life then, for God's sake. It's an expression of life.
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
life. So that's the way I feel about music. But yeah, it means a lot to me. But I'm not one of those sort of people that. Well, no, I was about to say something that wasn't entirely true. It's mostly not true. I don't use it as a therapy, exactly. But I had a crap sort of day yesterday. I had a crap week, but so. It's true. I did end up spending probably an hour or so fiddling on the guitar, and it probably was a bit of an outlet. But I don't. Yeah. Oh, it sounds ever so superficial, don't I? But I love it. I really love it. But I just think that there's other stuff which is really important as well. And yeah.
There's a balance. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm glad.
Exactly
I'm glad
right.
you had a fiddle yesterday.
Yeah.
Because
That's where
I warned
Benny
you,
Hill
man.
came in, folks.
All those times I sat in the chat with you and Peter chatting together, and me just in the chat going innuendo, innuendo.
I know.
I get to verbalise it.
I know. I'm a big fan of innuendo. Pete doesn't like it. He gets upset about it. He's such a prude. It's not just that his head looks like a prude. He's oh, he's in the chat. He
No,
can do
he's
nothing about
absolutely
this.
shackled. Suck it up, Pete. Oh my!
Oh, suck it up. Anyway,
Don't mention twiddling knobs either. No.
no.
So when you're growing up, do you recall the music that was played in your house?
Yes, I do. Now, my father, I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with country and Western music, right? It's a joke, isn't
Both of
there?
them.
Or not a thing that people say. I like two types of music, country and Western. But no, so I didn't like it. It was always there, and I'm not talking about that sort of terribly honky country and Western, but more. He used to listen to. Who was the guy? But most of all, you're my best friend. I've probably taken the copyright issues there. I think he's called Don. I can't remember his name anyway. And some old stuff like Jim Reeves. And then my dad used to listen to Kamal a lot. Do you remember Kamal?
What they used to play on Hi-Hats that day? People don't be kind or something like that. What was it? Oh man, it was that clip John Blackman used to play.
So that sort of music, despite me wanting to be young and trendy and cool at the time and reject it all, I'm sorry to offend anyone in the chat, but I'm not a big fan of country and Western. Let's put it that way. Although I find myself playing it a little bit here and there, but I don't think of it as country and Western when I'm doing it. But the one thing I do, I'm really grateful for with that is the storytelling in it. I mean, it's one of those genres of music where the storytelling's really, really good, and lyrically, can really draw you in. Maybe it's got associations with too many other things, which I find abhorrent in some way, without wanting to get too political. But that
like domestic violence. I always find country music has a lot of domestic violence in it. I always find.
I don't know about that. The stuff my dad listened to, Jim Reeves didn't have any of that in there. But there was a lot of. Anyway. But yeah. So that was what grew up around me. But neither of my parents are musical at all. My dad whistled a lot, but there seems to be a lot of my grandfather, who spent a lot of his time in prison, was apparently quite musical. So I think that I've got a lot of things in common with my grandfather. I haven't been to prison, by the way, folks, but that's sort of slightly. He was a bit naughty, by the sounds of things, and so he was a little bit naughty. He didn't do anything horrible. He didn't kill anyone or anything, but yeah. So, but apparently he could play any musical instrument that you would put in his hand. And there's been some other people in the family. Stop it. Yes. He could sort your whistle out for you.
You made me think of Flying High. You ever been in a Turkish prison? My family didn't play. There wasn't a lot of music in my family either. My dad used to listen to horse racing. It was fucking gross.
And I bet you weren't allowed to interrupt.
It's so
people.
embarrassing. We used to, as a family, go for a walk to buy an ice cream on summer nights. And my dad would have this tiny little radio thing that he'd carry on his shoulder like a Walkman, listening to Doonbin races, you know. I'm like, dude, kill me now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you were born in Australia, yeah?
I was.
Yeah, so...
I was, yeah.
But
Yes.
you've been
Well,
around,
big
you've
man.
travelled.
A little bit, yeah. I went to England when I was 9. The whole family moved to England when I was 9. It seems to be mostly the other way around, that all the Poms come here. But everyone in my family is a Pom, apart from me. I was born here. And they decided to go back. So it was kind of strange. I went from this 70s Australia, which was very big and wide open and sunny and sandy and a little bit carefree from my memory, to living in a tiny, tiny terraced house in the UK. In fact, it's shortly after we arrived in the UK, we became technically homeless. We weren't out on the street, but we didn't. We were sort of sharing with family and didn't have anywhere to live of our own. So we were put in temporary housing for about 2 years, and so there wasn't even a toilet or there was a toilet, but it was outside in the back garden, and there was no bath. It was going back to the 1930s, so we had a tin bath in the front room, which we had to fill up with kettles and. So it sounds good, this, doesn't it? This is my backstory. We were so poor.
How long did it take you to walk to school?
Yes, 3 minutes.
Damn.
But there were times as we moved around. I moved around a lot when I was a kid. I went to 18 different schools. We lived in 32 different houses by the time I was 18. We shifted around a lot. There was times I had long walks to school. Well, where were we going with that? Yeah, so we went back to England, and I lived there at a little place called the Isle of Wight, and then I moved from there, Norwich, and da-da-da. And in terms of places I've been, I've spent a lot of time in Japan, did quite a bit of busking in Japan and some live performances there in sort of pubs and clubs and things. Bit of time in the US, did a little bit of music there. But been there a number of times, enjoyed that. Out and about to different places. I used to work in Hong Kong as well, so I spent a lot of time in Hong Kong. I used to fly in, fly out from Perth to Hong Kong. 2 weeks there, 2 weeks here.
How do you think all that travel has affected your musical style?
Well, I think that to be honest with you, say for example, living in the UK, I think some of the best music in the world comes out of the UK, but it's also a little bit of a snobby culture as well. I think, from memory, about you're supposed to like this and not like that. And I found that as I went around to different parts of the world, that people liked other things, and that sort of changed my opinion. Also, I think that I've always been on the lyrics side of things, like much more of a lyrics kind of guy. But it helped me to appreciate that an enormous amount of the world listen to music which is not in their native language, being that they listen to Western music, and they don't actually always understand what's going on in the lyric at all. So, like, melody is really, really important to them. So it started to probably help me appreciate melody a lot more. Yeah.
So,
tough question. I thought it was all going to be about cocks and vaginas and things, but it wasn't.
Didn't we talk about that before the show? I thought I provided all
I
that.
can say vagina, can't I? That's not going to get you demonetized.
I'm not monetized. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Okay.
That's why I played Benny Hill at the start. So I can get away with it. So, look, you touched on it at the beginning on that first question. A lot of people use music for healing. It is a thing. Do you think that there's been times when music has healed you in your life?
Sort of yes and no. There's definitely been like healing times. There's camaraderie that I've experienced in music with working with other people at times. Shout out to Chaz, my nephew.
Hey, Chaz.
He probably isn't watching. Probably never. He doesn't watch any of my stuff, actually, bastard.
Well,
but yeah. But I felt really musically close with him at times. We've done duo and recordings and stuff together, and I found that experience of working with others healing. And looking back as well, although it was sometimes tough at the time, my more formative years in my 20s when I was in a band and we were on the road and traveling around together and doing stuff was was really a significant, important part of my life. You know, really, really, really good. Um, yeah, I mean, what? There's no made-up stories in the songs that I write at all. But I don't tend to write about the thing that happened to me until maybe probably years later. Often I don't sort of use it for writing at the time. So I think there's a point where whether it's songwriting or whether it's poetry or just writing letters to yourself, when you have to kind of take something which happened in your life and then put it into words, it helps you to organize your thoughts about that thing and
Yep.
you know put it into a kind of a structure. And I think even that is kind of healing in itself, you know, songwriting, I think, more so than playing for me. Yeah, writing.
Well, like from as a fan of your music, I,
Mm,
I definitely I'll touch on it a
mm,
bit later on with the how you created your last single, how what we opened the song with I Don't Buy.
mm,
But you definitely are a real storyteller, and I'm quite surprised, to hear, because I know I write songs as to heal myself first, and then hopefully they'll go out into the world and
mm,
be able to
mm,
heal somebody else.
mm,
But yeah, your songs really resonate with me for kind of healing as well, with that storytelling vibe. Like there's and I already know a little bit about your life, so
mm, mm,
through other interviews I've seen. So
mm,
I mean, I'm playing in the background now your whole catalog in the background on Apple
mm.
Music, but there really is a story of your life. Me knowing your story and hearing your songs kind of from start to finish, from the first recording to the latest one,
Mm.
it really is all in there, the story of your life. I think that's really
There's,
encapsulated.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. Yeah, and it's funny because when I come to write it, I don't really think about other people listening to it. You know, I just sort of whatever comes out, you know, at the time, and then it's more when I'm recording it and I'm kind of refining it that I start to think about translating to other people a bit more. Yeah, but at the time, I don't know. It's just the only thing that's important to me with songwriting is authenticity, because I just feel like um, when you're not being really authentic, then you'll tend to write in cliches, and there's nothing I hate more in songwriting than cliche.
Yeah.
Lyrical, I'm talking about. I mean, I use musical cliche all the time, but yeah. So so I just think in terms of I just want to really a little bit bare my soul. Off music, off the subject of music a little bit. I know some people like to find it really, really hard to share themselves. A lot of people kind of like, oh, they feel vulnerable when they share themselves.
Hmm.
I'm almost the opposite to that. I'll wear my heart on my sleeve kind of thing, because I feel like I don't feel vulnerable. Once you've seen it all, there's no
Yeah.
hidden things for you to tease on. So I'm the other way. Yeah, just let it all out, you know. Probably the of the songs that are there, um, there's a song called "God Should Be Ashamed," which in itself is designed to be a slightly controversial um, title, and it was. And I remember the first time I played it. It was a couple of years after my son had died, and I'd written the song and I was sort of singing it to myself a lot. And then when I played it, a mate of mine, g'day Simon, from all those years ago, I played it to him, and he just cried his eyes out. He just sat there, you know, as a grown man, and just absolutely cried his eyes out. And so that was the first time for me that I felt that I could really potentially reach someone with the song. And it was the thing about it is at that time in my life, because things change, but I wrote a song called God Should Be Ashamed because I was utterly appalled that this could have happened. You know, I mean, I know it happens all the time. And at the time, I'd had religious people approach me and say it was all part of God's plan, and all that sort of stuff, and that made me really angry. Yeah, really, really angry at the time. Like, what kind of plan is this? You know?
Yeah.
So, I'm not a good person, but I couldn't come up with such a plan. So there's some moral issues there for me. Sorry to offend anyone who has faith, and I don't mean to do that. I'm just being honest that it doesn't make any sense when you've lost a child in your arms, as I did, that someone would say, "Oh, don't worry, there's a plan." So I was angry, and I wrote the song, and I think I learned after that, no, it might be uncomfortable for people to hear, but just say the way you feel.
Yeah, it's a pretty shit plan for somebody. Yeah. Thanks. And look, I'm very upfront with my feelings on religion and stuff. If anybody follows me on Facebook, I'm all for people having faith, but there's so much hatred and excuses made throughout faith, and and for such a tragic moment in your life for people to be so self-centered and to be defending or like projecting their religious beliefs, or it's a part of somebody's plan who they can't empirically prove exists, to me is disgusting. So, and not very Christian.
Yeah, look, I've got plenty of friends of who have a faith and different religions, and they're not all
Of course,
shallow. It just seems to be the more shallow ones are more vocal at times. But no. So I don't mean to try and in any way discredit their beliefs, because I know there's some really good people amongst them. But for me at the time, at least anyway, it was abhorrent that I've got to say, and I'll just say this straight out, it was one of the upsetting things which led to the song was me. I used to do television extra work in the UK, amongst the many things I seem to have done.
Oh, I wish
I
wish you had sent me a clip of that. You've
I
got
was
to
always
have
in
it.
the background doing something.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of days sitting around, because it's good work over there. There's a lot of TV made in the UK, and so you could be all throughout the summer, especially. I was always employed, and there's a lot of times to sit around, And I remember talking with this Catholic lady. Of course, she had, and saying about my son at that time. It still consumed me a lot, and I was still pretty upset. And I said, "Well, what do you think happened to my son after he died?" And she said, "Well, was he baptized?" I said, "No." She said, "Well, he went to hell then."
Oh my God.
And it was so in your face. I was almost shocked by huh?
Yeah.
And it was, and I just thought, I don't understand you. I don't understand that. What sense is there in that? It didn't make. So the song came out really of, why would this happen? So, but moving on from that, I just always felt after that it was important to write songs for me. And I know some people do a really good job of writing songs which are completely fictitious, which is awesome.
Yeah.
If people want to write songs in that way, that's cool too. But for me, it's the opposite.
Yeah, I listen to bands like Skyclad who write pirate metal.
Yeah.
It doesn't inspire me to want to write it, but hey, good on you. You want to wear an eye patch, have a parrot on your shoulder, and
does it inspire you to want to rape and pillage? Or
not yet. But the day's not over. It's early. So, and not that it's a good time to be raping and pillaging, because there's nobody out in the streets. We're all locked in our houses.
No, that's right. Yes.
You get arrested really quickly.
You may well catch something if you. Yeah.
Well, that could be good.
There's always been a risk of that.
Depends on what it is I catch. So it's early. It could be a worm.
Yes.
So you said you played in. What was your first band called, by the way?
Oh God. It was a high school band. It was called. Oh shit! I'm sorry. First
You
time
can
I've ever
swear.
sworn
Yes.
on air. I may have done it by mistake on Pete's channel once.
Oh fuck.
It's funny. It's such a naff name, don't we? Didn't we all have naff high school band names? But it says something about the times. The first band I was in was at high school, and it was called 4 Minute Warning.
Wow.
And it was a different time, because we were kind of obsessed with the idea at that time there might be a nuclear war.
Yeah, right.
That's so quaint now, isn't it? It's just like, nobody, nobody talks about unilateral disarmament or anything like that anymore, like we used to, you know. So yeah, that was what that was. That
My
was what
first
that
band was, and my first school band name was called the Lost Seamen. And yes, you can,
That doesn't surprise me whatsoever. That doesn't surprise me.
well, I think we
Uh,
won the Oz Music School Band of the Year in that year too, which was
you
good fun.
you could have had a throw off, the captive semen or something, and put condoms on your album cover.
We wore condoms on our heads. We were pretty extreme, let me tell you that. But we did like James
Uh,
Brown, Alanis Morissette. It was a mixed bag of stuff. So
Keith Lane has said, "Sworn so much, Mike, the whole room's blue." I know. Hang on, I'll be back. Keep talking, Jade.
yeah, all right, cool. So we're setting the mood lighting. I have a feeling right now. I need to play some sexy music. Is that what? Man, do you have any disco lights?
No, no,
Ah.
Hang on. I like this green one. I like green. I'm going green. Hang on. I need a nice solid green. It takes a long time to turn the knobs on this.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Knobs. So what motivated you to start home recording?
Yeah, so apart from being a muso, I was also a lifelong geek. And I started programming computers when I was about 12, which was, considering that was back in the 1800s, it's quite incredible. It's an amazing story. But yeah, so so there was never any sort of, because a lot of musicians have this right brain, left brain thing going on. So they're very organic people, but when you put them in front of technology, they kind of fall apart.
Yeah.
But that's not me at all. I was always, as I say, I was programming at a young age. And so then when music and computers kind of came together, I was all in right away. So, well, I didn't have much money, so I was probably a little bit behind the curves historically, but as soon as I was able to afford it, I was doing it. I bought my first sort of music computer, I think when I was about 16, and it was a Yamaha computer. You couldn't record audio on it. It was more of sort of MIDI stuff and that. And then, but yeah, not too long after that, it became, you were able to record on computers audio. I did do a little bit of 4-track stuff as well, Porter Studio stuff.
Yeah.
I worked in a music store after I left high school, and they had all that gear in there, so we were allowed to take it home and try it out, and so I had that. But yeah, it was just, to me, like, wow, I can just do what people do in real recording studios. Look, there's my guitar and there's my voice on top of it, and there's the bass, and oh my God. And it just was amazing to me. It still is, to be honest with you. I still go, wow, crikey, I can record stuff. Oh, cool.
You can do it without knobs if you choose.
But I've got lots of knobs in front of me here. And I don't mind the odd knob, but I don't have to have a knob in my hand. I can do it. Yeah. Yes,
You clearly haven't worked in the sex industry like I have. I went there.
Gee, that reminds me. That just reminds me. Just a little story. One of the big parts of what I've done in music is busking. I've busked since I went out busking for the first time when I was 10.
Wow.
And I had 2 songs when I was 10, and I played them over and over and over again. And that's what I still do now, actually. No, and that's been one of the great things about music, is the people that I've met over the years while I've been busking. I did a lot of busking in the UK. I've done a lot here, as I mentioned earlier. In Japan, I did some busking. I did a little bit in the US. And the people that you meet are fascinating. And it wasn't that long ago that I met this woman who was in a wheelchair. And, I don't know who she is, and I'm going to tell her life story now in public. Terrible. And she came by in this wheelchair. She used to always drop some money in and what have you. And I got chatting with her. She was about my age at the time. And I was sort of saying, why are you in a wheelchair? And she had some very rare form of arthritis, psoriatic. I can't say it, psoriatic arthritis anyway. And she she was fascinating, but it was so funny. She was saying she was mourning. She was a lesbian, but she'd worked in the sex industry, giving blowjobs in Sydney, and she was telling me all about it, and how eventually her mother had taken her back because she was now disabled, but she'd previously sort of been disowned because of her tendency to rob cocks for money, and I'm getting into the spirit of things.
I love it.
Stuff I can't say on my own channel.
More.
So yeah, it's just one of the many stories I collected along the way.
How did she pay you?
In stories.
Okay.
Jake, stories. It's bothering me, my OCD. I've still got a blue light in here. You see the bit of blue? You can't have that.
Man, I've been a busker too, man. I love busking. And I just found the other day, this is my old busking book. Look how ratty it is. I used to lay
God.
Used to lay on the ground. I mean, there's Into Temptation, Nothing Else Matters, Brick, Ben Folds, Time of Your Life, Long Day, Matchbox 20. But you touched on that too. Like you don't really need a lot of songs busking. I see a lot of people who go out busking and try and have this massive catalogue, and it's like people walk past you once. You can ultimately play one song for 3 hours and save your voice,
And if you really like the song, then sing the first and second verse again.
Yeah.
No one cares.
You'll hate it after busking it for like
You
weeks.
will. Yeah.
I can't sing Time of My Life.
There's a couple of songs I think I've actually played more than the original artist.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Losing My Religion, REM. God, I've played that one to death. And then it's funny because after the second decade of playing it, there's sometimes a way of. It's really important. I found with that song in particular, there was a way that I had to get back into it. So there was a kind of every time I would play the song, I would just I would just convince myself I'd never heard the song before, and I was playing it for the first time. It's just a mindset kind of a thing, Yeah.
What's the most?
I saw Alanis Morissette once, and she'd obviously gone through that stage, after the Jagged Little Pill album, and she'd obviously got to the stage where she toured it so much that she was sick of it. So she rearranged all the songs beyond recognition. One of the worst gigs I've ever been to. She was appalling.
I remember that.
You just thought, oh, come on, just play the song. You're getting paid bloody so much money for it. Don't be so pretentious, Alanis.
Yeah. Oh, she did go a bit kooky after that.
She did.
She
I remember, but the good thing was the same gig she was supported by Garbage, and Garbage are excellent. Awesome.
Isn't that funny how some gigs, I've told this story on the show before. I went and saw Alice in Chains, and Suicidal Tendencies opened for them, and they were amazing. And Alice in Chains came out within the first song. The drummer kicked his drum kit across the stage, and Lane Staley was off his head on heroin, and they walked off and didn't play. And was it 2 nights later that the same bill played, and Suicidal Tendencies drummer filled in for Alice in Chains and was better than their drummer. Kicked their ass.
I saw Van Morrison once in the UK, and the audience were unkind to his support act. They booed the support act, and Van Morrison came out and said, "I'm not playing," and walked off.
Good on him. Good on him. Because back in the days, like a lot of the artists used to pick their support acts. Used to have a little bit of say in it before the music industry kind of fell into the poo pit. I was going to ask, what's the largest amount of money that somebody gave you in one go busking?
100, probably, yeah.
It's a glorious moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good, yeah. Yeah, definitely nice. And sort of a little bit overwhelming. I always found that the people who donated the most money were kind of often, put it in there and scurried away.
Yeah.
And they don't they probably, if you do get the chance to thank them, they come off as a little bit embarrassed. Whereas there's other people who'll come up to you with 20 cents and hold it up in the air, and they'll do this. They'll let you know as you're singing. I will say one thing. I'm going to have a bit of a whinge now.
Yeah.
People, if you're out there and you see a busker, don't go up and talk to them while they're singing. Don't do that. That's not the time for a conversation. Wait till they finish the song.
And never, can I have a go on your guitar, mate?
Never
Far
that.
out.
I would say to them, it's okay. I'll give you my guitar. Just give me your car keys. I'm just going to take it for a little spin.
I got cased one night because I used to do it Flinders Street Station. And, you know, I always
played there.
Always
in the
have
underground.
down in the middle of Elizabeth Street tunnel. I did Friday and Saturday every weekend for 3 hours. I'd clear $200, you know, each night, sometimes more. But this one night, I'd always keep my pliers in my pocket just in case somebody did anything stupid. And this one night I got cased. 2 guys, one on each side. One had like a beanie over his head. And I knew they were going to do something. One was talking to me. The other one was near the case. There was about $150 in there. And bang, the dude just grabbed the whole case and ran.
Yeah.
And I pulled out my pliers and I stabbed with my pliers into this guy. And I went, stop that asshole. And it was just lucky. These Maoris were coming down the steps who tackled him. The money went everywhere and they had him down on the ground, punching him in the head. It was sick. Oh, man. It's so much better than a gig.
I had this weird moment. I was in Flinders Street Station busking. I was with my brother, I remember. And I was just sort of there, and it was a bit of a vibe in the evening. It was about 8, and there was a bunch of guys came along. I could see from the end of the station, it was like in slow motion, like this gang of guys, you know, all built up, you know. And there's this one guy at the front. He's obviously been in a fight recently, you know, and he's got sort of bruises on his face and coming up. And they're just very aggressive looking, right, as they're coming up. And I'm so weird. I'm not a tough guy. I'm not a tough guy. But when confrontation comes, I'm like, I'm going to stand my ground, you know. And I remember at the time I was singing that song by REM, Everybody Hurts, you know. And your day is long. So it's a really gentle like song, right? But I'm filling up this nice and echoey down there in the. And this guy comes up to me, and you can see he's walking. He hates buskers or something, I don't know. And he walked right up to my nose. He got his right nose to nose with me. And I just went, everybody hurts. And he went, you're right, mate. And my brother he wasn't singing at the time. He was white, and he went, you're crazy. I went, what was I going to do?
He was doing the swollen testicle walk, I'll bet. I love that walk. I bet his balls shrunk right at that moment.
Oh, God.
All right, so speaking of balls and sauce, what gave you the idea to create Creative Sauce? What's the story behind Creative Sauce and the name and all of that jazz?
So the inspiration was just that I'd probably had, like most people, some YouTube channels in the past, you know, which nobody ever watched. And so I was like, yeah, whatever, YouTube. And then my daughter, who was probably about 11 at the time, had been making some tutorials about how she had this home design 3D package thing that she used to use on the Mac. And she learned how to use it. So she made some tutorials, which nobody had made some tutorials. And she made one and got like 3,000 views. And I was like, wow, really? Like if you like teach people stuff, they kind of like that. That's useful, you know. And then so that sort of lodged in my head a bit more so than it's much harder to have an artist channel, like just to put your music out there is much more difficult to get people to come and look, because people don't care, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they don't pay attention.
They don't care. So there was that little seed planted, and then initially it was called Creative Source. It wasn't going to be just about making music initially. I'm also a web programmer, so I do a bit of that. I also do some CGI 3D design stuff as well, and I'm reasonably handy, I suppose, ish with things like Photoshop, or at least, you know, doing stuff with your photos. So initially it was going to be this sort of conglomerate of different things, you know, but I sort of really quickly realized that that wasn't probably going to be a good idea. That, you know, if someone, I didn't understand that whole thing of, if someone subscribes to you because they loved your video about recording music, if you then gave them a photography video next, that wasn't going to work. Right? They were going to go, why did I subscribe to this channel?
Yeah.
So so if you watch the first 2 or 3 videos of mine, I had a different animated intro where I suggested in that intro that this channel is going to be about all of those things. But yeah, I decided after the first 2 or 3 videos, no, I'm going to focus on the thing that I could talk about the most out of all of those things, and the thing I'd sort of done for the longest and felt more comfortable about. So I'd been recording. I seem to remember that I'd been recording on computers since properly with the DAW, that is, you know, not this previous computer I mentioned, since around about 95, something like that. So yeah, it'd been a good couple of decades that I'd been doing it for, and I thought, yeah, I can talk about that, and I've got something to offer on that, you know. So and then it sort of dawned upon me, I suppose, that a lot of the other YouTubers I was watching who were successful, they partly got their credibility, if you like, because they had, or because they have an LA studio, because they had a platinum record, or because this, and that's cool. I understand they deserve that recognition, but also that makes you detached from 99% of the people in the world who are recording music, who are doing it maybe in their bedroom, maybe, if you're lucky like me, you've got an actual room dedicated to it in your house. And so I thought, I don't know that those guys can connect to that anymore. You know, they're all talking about their signal chain being, you know, an incredible microphone going through an incredible hardware compressor and preamp and what have you. And we can't afford that. There's messages most of us can't afford that. Either you might be a student at home, a student, you know, living at home with your parents or in digs, and you don't have that much money, or you might be a guy or a gal who's currently a parent of children, and that's a money pit. So you just afford what you can. You're never going to have that, you know, LA2A compressor or what have you. So why teach people about it if they can't get their hands on it and actually do it? You know, so I just always wanted to keep it somewhat. I mean, there are people like me who have a little bit of spare cash to buy some nice toys, but just somewhat at ground level was really important to me. Yeah, so that's how it really has evolved in the end, and I love it. It's the best time in my whole life, for sure. Yeah, absolutely, every day. You know, I'm consumed by it, to be honest with you.
No, you can tell that too, because your videos are really well put together. They're you know, the first time I saw one of your videos, and every time you do it in each video, I always like long for it. It's when you say to hit the bell and you hit your finger up there. It was the first thing I saw, and it stuck with me. Yeah, and I always wait for it and just go, and then I always
get the bell every time.
I get a bit lost and start thinking, oh, fuck. I wonder how hard that is to get that in the right place each time and nail it.
It's muscle memory now. It's muscle memory. Yeah, it's just, yeah. There's a couple of times, there was a video a couple of weeks ago where I was just in a different position to normal, and I had to kind of do it in a different way, and it felt really awkward and strange. So yeah, I don't really plan for it, but yeah, I like that stupid little stuff, you know. It's like the little drum beat thing that I do at the beginning of every video, what have you. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. People email me and stuff and tell me that they do the drum beat along with me at the beginning of every video.
I do too. I've got your videos up here on the screen. I'm just gonna pop one of them on randomly. And for those of you who haven't seen it before,
in this video we'll be talking about my top 5 free VST drum plugins.
There we go. Yeah.
That's the start.
Hi folks,
But it's your
I'm
bell
Mike,
bit
and
that I love
hope
the
you're
most.
well.
You
Now,
do it
in
at the
today's
start,
video,
don't you?
we're going to be discussing my
Yeah.
favourite
Comes
5
to be
drum
about
plugins, which you can get
45
hold of
seconds
for
in normally.
absolutely nothing. Yes, free drum plugins which you can download and use in your projects today. Now, they range from electronic
so
sounding
excited.
kits all the way through to really
I
nice
love it.
acoustic sounding kits. So there's something for all kinds of genres of music. Now, I
Okay.
haven't put them in any particular
No.
order, but I will
I've-
say I've left my very favourite until last. So check out
You
all
have to
5
leave
in
your
case
favourite
there's
till
something
last, right?
specifically
You
that
can't-
you
Of
need,
course.
and check out that last one because I think it's pretty awesome. Now, if you like this
Here
kind
we
of
go.
content, all about DAWs, home recording, plug-in reviews, gear reviews, that kind of thing, then please do help me out and subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube
Ding.
so that you get notified about my future videos. Now, let's take a look at those drum plugins.
Oh God, but even the little sort of thing with the bell. This is the world of YouTube, guys. Like that took me a good day and a half to get that animation all sorted out.
Yeah.
I just, I get angry, but it's reusable content. So yeah.
But you can tell you
But-
put a lot of work into it. Like you can tell the production value of the videos that you produce is really high. Your knowledge is really solid. And I mean, you were talking before about
I
how,
noticed you didn't say hi about my knowledge. It was you were searching there. I think.
No.
Your knowledge is really
solid is the
Solid.
same as high. I'm just trying to use different,
okay. Yeah, go.
solid as a rock, man.
You could have
Solid
said
as a rock.
extensive. You could have said extensive.
Extensively high. Now Siri's just gone off. Why does Siri go off at the word extensive, bitch? Unbelievable. But no, so with your the way you put together your videos, like you're saying, so what I wanted to touch on, you said how people with expensive studios and such, how they do seem out of touch and they seem disconnected from the rest of the world. Where your videos look really professional, like those professional studios, but you're like in your home. So you've managed to create a false sense of expensive studio, but at home. So it's very incredible how you've done that.
There's an element of that is just OCD. I was actually diagnosed last year for the first time with OCD. And when the doctor had diagnosed it, and when I then told sort of family and friends, hey, I've been diagnosed with OCD, they were like, yeah, of course, we knew that. So yeah, I'm really like, I've, oh God, this is like confessions, but I always wear a black t-shirt. I don't wear black t-shirts in every part of my life, but for the videos, I wear black t-shirts, right? And since I started in 4K, shooting in 4K especially, it shows up every kind of little freaking speck, right? You've no idea how many intros because first of all, I do 40-second intros, right? Which usually takes me about 20 takes, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't even say hi, folks, once I press record. Folks, hi. It's not always, it could be any word beginning with F. And so I've done that and then go, cool. And then when I've finished a little section, I check it on the computer, just on the big screen. And I go, oh, crap, there's a tiny little white speck on my black t-shirt. I've got to record it again. And I do. And it nearly drives me insane, which is why it normally takes me 2 days to produce an episode.
Man, I would
Mik.
just find a little black circle and put it over the top and move
I've
it
done
and
that
animate it
before.
around it. I would do
I
that.
have done that before. I must admit, yeah. But it's probably a little bit quicker just to re-record it. But yeah.
Well, that's why I'm not doing videos that are edited, because I don't have the patience to sit there and do all that. And just do live streams. It's so much easier.
I really enjoy editing though. But my videos normally I'll go out at 6 in the evening, and for my time, and I'm quite often still editing at 4:30. I edit really, really quickly, so that part I'm pretty quick at, and I like it. It just takes me about an hour to edit an episode. So I'm all about the upfront planning all my shots, a little bit of loose scripting so I know exactly what the flow of the whole video will be. And then if I've planned correctly, then editing is just bang, 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 bang. render. So yeah, that's why I work.
Yep. I used to keep it loose when I worked in the sex industry. A lot of bang, 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 bang in there too. So we're being honest. So I'm bringing up now because I want to talk about this on my screen. Where are we? On my iPad. I should get the iPad back up on my screen. So your record mix release series.
Oh God, yeah.
Man, this thing is incredible. So if people haven't seen this, please go over to Creative Source, click on the playlists and look for record mix release. This is a 15 episode and an intro episode, yeah? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where you recorded, mixed, and did the whole job virtually for your latest single. Tell us about the journey of that.
So there was a little bit of OCD involved in that again, because I felt that that when you watch these episodes, that I wanted to be able to give people a sneak peek in each episode of what the next episode would be, and also just in that there's an intro in each of them, and I wanted to quickly show what was in this whole series, basically the whole process of planning and recording, mixing and releasing a song from beginning to end. So even the intro of each episode had to reflect that whole process. So I decided up front I must film the whole series before I released one episode, because I wanted that sort of continuity in the editing. So that one decision made it really weird, because especially in the sense of YouTube, because it's like I don't even know if this thing's going to work at all, and I'm going to commit. In the end, it took up 3 months of my time. So I was filming I was just releasing one video a week then, and I was filming that, and for the rest of the week I was usually recording a record, mix and release episode, because as soon as you point a camera at something, even the most simple thing like tuning your guitar, it's suddenly, there's lights and there's different camera angles, and it's going to take, now an hour to tune your guitar. So everything takes a lot longer. So I decided to do that, and release it all in the end, in sort of reasonably one hit. I think I did release every 2 days.
Yep.
And it was really came about because I felt like when people first start out, like if a good teacher comes to me, then they're going to give me a sense of what's this journey going to be like, this course you're taking or whatever, and give you an upfront kind of, this is what we're going to do. So I feel like people can jump on YouTube and they can find a little bit about the process, how to mix vocals, or, how to create a template or whatever it is. But it's nice to give people, like, this is how you're going to record your song and release it, from the beginning, not cutting any corners or skipping over bits. I thought that was really important. When I searched to see if people had done it before, I didn't see it done really, really well. Graham Cochran had done it some years ago, but for me, he kind of hadn't really filmed every single part of it. He talked about lots of parts of it. So I just felt it was lacking, that it wasn't quite there in the way I'd like to see it if I was learning about it. So yeah, like I get a fair amount of emails about that, and I've had a number of people who've said to me, I've just released my first single on Spotify, and it's because I followed your record mix release series and what have you. So it's really reward. I know this sounds ever so like Hollywood cheesy, but it's so true. It's very, very rewarding when I get emails like that. It's really inspiring. It just really makes me push on and make more videos. When people tell me that they've actually substantially recorded something and released it because they've watched, or they feel because they watched my videos. So super cool, and super exhausting to do, but it was great. I'm glad I did it. I did, help my channel a lot as well in the end. But you always feel like you want to do it again, and do it better. So maybe I'll do a better one in the future.
Do you think how did it impact the final product of the song?
So it was probably towards the end a little rushed, because originally I'd mapped out 12 episodes, and then it didn't quite fit in, and I ended up doing these 15. And so yeah, at the end it was kind of like I probably didn't put as much care and attention into the final parts of it as I normally would if I was able to just to concentrate on that. Um, but whenever you learn so much when you're teaching people about things, so it made me break down my own process
Yeah.
and think about how I do it, because normally I just get on and do it. And that's to say, at the same time, for anyone watching who's who's newish to this, it's not something that stays the same. My process, even in the years, or probably almost a year since I recorded that, has changed again. It's not static. This is just a way of doing it, which might be a decent template if you just don't know how to get started with recording a song. But it's always, it depends on the song as well,
Yep.
really, about the process. It depends on which kind of music you're creating and what that song deserves. But it was reasonably typical. I'll often start off with an acoustic guitar and just getting that down and putting some guide vocals. I hate, like, my thing is I hate, say, playing a bass guitar part all by itself, because a bass player in a band never does that. He's there with the other musicians. So I spent a lot of time putting down guide tracks so that every musician in the band, which is me, on every instrument, is playing along with the band when they play their part, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then, so there's a lot of like temporary tracks, and then you go back and record your actual part so that you can play your actual part along with the band and get that sort of vibe. But yeah, the song in itself, it impacted it. Tell you what was really irritating to me about that, actually, even when I listen to it now, I demonstrate to people how to get like the tempo for the song. Like, I demonstrated that what I do is I try and play the song away from my computer. I just record it on my phone quickly, so I'm playing it in the most natural way. And then when I set up my tempo, when I sit with my DAW, I listen to whatever I'd done on the phone, and I think, yeah, that's where the tempo should be. And I wasn't happy. Like 6 weeks later, I listened to it. I thought, it's a little bit fast.
You're right.
Should have been, 2 or 3 BPM slower, because that can make all the difference sometimes
Yeah, for sure.
to the groove. So yeah, that does bug me.
It's
I
hard.
guess.
It's hard too to set the tempo. Like,
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing. It seems like a simple thing, but
yeah,
yeah, and you can regret it later on, big
you
time.
can. Yeah.
And I'm not really one of those stretch audio kind of people.
No.
No.
No, like with the album I've been working on for all these years, there's been at least 3 of them that I've had to go back and completely redo, which was
Yeah.
incredibly painful because I'd
Oh,
already
yeah.
spent a couple of years on all 3 of them. And the tempo was out by about 12, and it just one of them I actually went back and changed the tempo, brought it down 12, and by the time I finished it was like, you know what? I should have stayed where it was. So I wasted 2 months doing that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We know that feeling.
And
I did this. Do you know that song? No, it's a great Australian song. I used to busk it, and it's called. And the band played Waltzing Matilda.
yeah.
Right, great song by. What's the name? Something Fogel, Eric Fogel. Is it? Sorry, I could be getting the name wrong. Anyway, really, for those of you who don't know it, it's quite a long song. It's got many, many verses, and it tells the story of a First World War veteran Australian soldier who goes to Gallipoli, experiences the horrors of that situation. So I used to busk it, and it used to go down really, really well. People used to sort of seem to like my version of it. So I decided, I was recording a covers song, a covers CD at the time, and I thought I'll record that, but I just want to embellish it. I like it with the guitar and the vocal. It's great, but I hear this orchestra in my head. I spent like 3-4 months on that song, like just putting all of this glorious orchestra thing. It was like Mike Enjo plays Sydney Opera House sort of thing, right? And I remember sitting and going through this mix with a friend of mine at the time, and at some point I muted everything apart from just the guitar and vocal, and my friend said, "Oh, that sounds better." I never released that song at all. Actually, it just sits on my computer going.
Teasing you. So I'll normally ask this question. This is I do a lot of iOS stuff here. That's what it eventually is. And with my interviews, I kind of overlook that for the interviews, because not everybody uses iOS, and these interviews are about creativity and the personalities behind the creativity. So, can you give me 5 apps, plugins, devices, whatever it is that you use, that if they took away from you tomorrow, you couldn't live without them?
Yeah, I was a little bit prepared for this, and so I'm both an iOS and an Android user, and I'm a PC and a Mac user and a Linux user as well. I don't have sort of affiliations to things. I'll just use whatever. So I've got a list of 5. They're not all iOS, so the first one, they're not that interesting, to be honest. I just went for the 5 apps that I just use most of the time, apart from freaking Facebook or whatever, and. So the first one, it's an Android one, but I'm sure there's iOS versions. It's called Pro Guitar Tuner. So it's just a guitar tuner. It's great now. We live in great times where you don't have to carry guitar tuners around with you everywhere you go. So this one was called Pro Guitar Tuner. Really good one. I find it a little more accurate, actually, than those little clip-on ones that we all use now on the ends of our guitars. I'm not always certain how accurate they are. So I like something which is going to be very, very accurate when I'm tuning. Tuning's important to me. I've made a couple of videos
So
with
it
my
should
guitar
be.
out of tune. Yeah, it's horrible. So there's that. Now the second
That's
one,
free
which is
too, yeah?
there's a free version, and if you want to get rid of the adverts, which you always want to when you're tuning your guitar, you can pay a small fee. It's well worth it. The second one, which I use mostly with Android, but I know it's available on iOS, is called AirMore. AirMore. I've used this for a number of years. I don't know why it doesn't get talked up a lot more. And it's essentially really, really easily and elegantly, for me, solves the problem of when you've got some files on your computer and you want to put them on your phone. Which for me is difficult and painful enough with Android, because I have to find a cable and plug it in and drag files across, which is so much effort. First world problems. But when I used iOS devices, I think sometimes transferring files to that was even more difficult. Things might have changed now, but back in the day, I seemed to have to, I don't know, put up iTunes and connect to that, and well, I don't know. But AirMore makes it so easy anyway. It basically is like a web page which opens up.
Yep.
And then you open up your AirMore app on the phone. You point it at your screen. It's got a Q, one of those, what do they call them? Anyway, one of those things that you scan. It's in the app. So it comes up with a Q scanner thing on the screen when you open up the AirMore page. You point your camera at the screen, and bang, it comes up with like files, and you can just drag from your computer and drop them on your phone, just like that, or vice versa. So works really, really easily, really effectively. I've never had to pay a cent for it. I've used it for years, and it just makes that process of putting files in place is easy.
It looks like there's 2 versions on iOS, so AirMore and AirMore Plus, and they both look free.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I don't know what the plus would be, but yeah, definitely, guys. If that's something you have hassle with, go that. And it's elegant as well. I like things which are just simple and elegant and make sense. And the next one would be a newish one for me, but I'm really enjoying using it. It's iOS. I use it on iOS, but it is now on Android as well. And that's from Steinberg, and it's Cubasis. And I know lots of people watching you will be using GarageBand, and I haven't used GarageBand much on iOS. I've used it a little bit on my Apple Mac. I love Pete Johns, and I love all you guys using GarageBand. I've got nothing against it specifically, But for me, when I use it, it definitely doesn't feel like the other DAWs that I use on my PC, right?
Yeah.
And I use more than one. Um, and so one thing I do like about Cubase, when I jump on my iPad with it, it just feels like I'm using my DAW on my computer. I didn't have to read a manual or anything for it. Very, very cool. Yeah.
I just got Cubase's 3 a couple of days ago because I had Cubase's 2.
Yep.
And see, like I use GarageBand for more, I do a lot of shows using it, but I use it more for demoing stuff and for making drums. But I use Aurea Pro on my iPad. I just did two shows on that just this week. Did a deep dive into both because it just reminds me of old school Pro Tools and Logic back when it was on PC.
Yeah, right.
And that's what's familiar to me.
Exactly.
You've got to use what's familiar to you, what you associate, what you feel comfortable using ultimately. But Cubase's 3 is killer.
Yeah, it's just really, really elegant, slick. I mean, it's just there. I think it's the future of music, mobile. I think Pete Johns is really onto something here. It's the future of recording in the long term. I mean, I'm still a desktop guy, but I know they're a thing of the past. It's only the gaming industry which has kept desktops really alive as a thing. Desktop computers, that is. I still like them, but I think the way of the future is going to be smaller and smaller setups, minimalistic.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy to be learning it. And the only really good thing about it is I've created my man cave here, which is really, really great. But there's also something very, very cool about being in your lounge and recording music, or being just somewhere else apart from that special place that you've created for yourself. It just can be really inspiring just being in a different part of the house and recording.
I'm in a relationship with my studio because it's in my bedroom because my bed's behind me. So I virtually sleep with my instruments.
It sees everything you do.
Yeah, I know. All my cameras are pointed at the floor, trust me. Everything's pointed at the floor in this
The
room.
Chinese are watching, right?
Oh, awesome. I wish they'd start paying. Could make a quid from that. So we got a couple more.
Oh, where did we get to? Sorry, there's two more. Quick one. I know this one isn't available on iOS, and I bring it up specifically. There's something called Touch Door, which I use on Android, and it's basically a remote controller for your DAW, whether it's on Mac or whether it's on PC, right? And the age-old problem of you're sitting there with your guitar, right, like I am now, and you've got your guitar, and then you've got your mic set up perfectly, ready for recording, but your computer's over there, and you sort of do this thing like that, right? And it sucks, right? So I actually have a stand you can see here. This stand is set up to either have my iPad on it or my phone. There's a little attachment on there for my phone, and that can go anywhere. But Touch Door is a really, really good remote. Works with all the major doors. I've always found it works really well for me. And I used to use one years ago on iOS called, I think it was called Door Remote HD. And it doesn't work. It's not available anymore. And it was an awesome app. So I made a video about Touch Door about a year ago, more than a year ago, and it's reasonably popular. And I've always got people coming in there going, is there a version of this on iOS? And I go, no. And they say, what do you recommend on iOS? And I've tried all of the big ones on iOS, and I think they all suck.
Yeah,
I'm afraid
they
to
need
say.
work. Yeah.
They're just rubbish, and that really surprises me because normally it's the sucky apps which are on Android, and everything on iOS is really nicely produced and works really easily and well. But someone's missing it on iOS with those types of apps, and it's such a useful thing to have. And the last one, which is super geeky, which I just want to, it's more of a shout out because I've been so impressed with this. It's not going to be useful to most people, but I use hang on. Here's the camera I use it looks really dinky at the moment because it's got a little short pancake lens on there. You probably can't see it. Never mind the big lenses, folks. It's always going to be the little lenses which are most useful in the studio. and it's a Panasonic G85, and I only got it about 6 months ago, and I love it. I really love that camera, and and now all of my videos are in 4K because of that. And one of the reasons I chose it because I did an awful lot of researching on what camera should I have for my studio. Um, and one of the things I looked for was whether they would have a good app to control them. Because again, it's one of those things where I've got the camera pointing at me. I need to frame my shot. I need to see myself. I need to make sure I'm in focus. I need to operate almost every part of the camera without having to lean over and adjust it. So the Panasonic app, which comes with that Panasonic image app, I've got it both on Android and I have it on my iPad here. This stand is what you can't see in my videos. It sits just in front of me like that, and it's just out of shot, and it's my control center. I can control everything on that camera from it. And it's really a big bonus in terms of productivity. It just means that I can sit in the space I'm going to be sitting. I've got my mic up there. I've got a little shotgun mic, usually sits out of shot. That's plugged straight into the camera. I can adjust audio levels, all that good stuff. And yeah, so it's just a really well-made app, which just does exactly what I want it to do. And yeah, in the last few months, it's been a lifesaver. As I've tried to improve the quality of my productions for the channel, that all costs time. I spend my life on Amazon these days, just buying little gadgets, one thing or another,
Yeah.
and they're all about saving time. They're all about just making this process as easy as possible. So whether it's video production or whether it's audio production, there's any little things you can find which are going to keep your creative flow going without interrupting it with technical issues they're worth their weight in gold.
Totally agree.
Mm.
I spend a lot of my time on eBay doing the same thing, but
Mm-hmm.
then I get distracted, and then I end up buying something like this, which is a death whistle. I'll see if I can get on cam. It's yes, and it has a hole in the top of its head, like it's a tribal, authentic death whistle. When you blow on it, it shrieks like a woman, like someone's screaming. Here, I'll give you. Doesn't work that good, actually.
I know what this is all about, Jade. For people watching, Jade just couldn't get through the show without sucking on a little head.
I haven't
That's
had.
what this is all about. This is all about here.
Hey, I've been celibate for 2.5 years, so that's the most head I've had in ages. Let's be honest.
But I'll give you an example. This shows you how anal I am. So this is me on Amazon the last few months. You can't really see it here, but anyway, this is the top of this tripod here. This little attachment which attaches my mobile phone on there slides into this head on the tripod. This is called an Arca Swiss head. It's like a standard type of. It's like a standard. It's so many millimeters wide and da da da. Now I kit out my whole studio because I've got sliders, I've got a gimbal, I'm using all this stuff, and everything has now got an Arca Swiss head on it. Even my webcam, which I'm looking at now, which sits above there. So everything's interchangeable. I can take that webcam out and I can put it on a gimbal. I can put it on this tripod, just like that. And obviously my main camera. And it's that kind of thing. It just means when I'm taking my camera and I'm putting it on the slide or I'm putting it on the gimbal, shoo, 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 because it's all on that Arca Swiss system. I sound like a salesman for Arca Swiss now. But that's the sort of thing. And it's great these days because you can buy this stuff pretty cheap. It doesn't have to be that expensive.
Yeah.
And the Chinese, bless them, if you shop around, they actually do make some decent quality of stuff here and there. Not mostly, but here and there if you find certain brands. So yeah, how geeky and nerdy is that?
Those little things just make Yeah, as you said, they cut corners. I love those little things. It's like shortcuts, like on an iPhone. Anything that can save a few minutes.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
more valuable than money.
Why are we so busy these days? Changing the subject.
I don't
Why does
know.
it feel like we're so busy?
I don't know. I'm not that busy though. I have a nano nap every day.
See, I don't know, man. I'm gonna sound like an old guy now, but when we did go to the UK when I was a kid and we lived in that terrace house, my mum didn't have a washing machine. Like we take automatic washing machines so for granted, right?
Yeah.
Like this, we all have it, but my mum used to wash all our clothes and stuff in this. It was like a twin tub. It had one side of it, which was the washing machine. Then you had to drag it out
Yeah.
and put it on the other side, and that had a spinner. But for a while, she didn't have that, and she used to use a mangle. I don't know if you know what a mangle
Yeah,
is.
the
Yeah,
winder.
but you put your clothes, you wind it, and it squashes the clothes and drains all the water out of them. And she used to do that and look after it. She still had time to crochet and make full meals, do everything, and she worked as well. And I go, crikey, crochet? I haven't got time for that. I'd love to. I don't have.
Is that going to be an up and coming video? I hope so.
Yeah, engaging, hey?
Yeah, you can
How to make a little doily.
crochet some
Creative source.
sound foam for the back there. Crochet. Make some coverings.
I'm really excited. I've got some sound treatment coming. This is a little bit of a perk of being a YouTuber. Because I don't have proper treatment in this room. I get by with these sort of foam things, but I haven't got any bass traps or anything, and I've been needing to do it since I moved into this place, and I hadn't got around to it. So I wrote to an Australian company in Melbourne there, and they kind of knew. They were all over Facebook at the time. You know how sometimes certain ads will be in your Facebook thing, because Facebook had heard
All
me
the
say the
time.
word, yeah, because I'm no doubt I might be breaking some law here by saying this, but I believe that Facebook does listen to you through the microphone of your phone. I really do believe
It's in the
that,
terms and
'cause
conditions, Mike. It
Is
is.
it?
Yeah, go
I
on.
didn't
Have
know
a
that.
read. Yeah, they admit
It's
that they are.
uncanny.
In
Yeah, so
Messenger
I'll-
and Facebook.
I'll be talking about stuff and I haven't typed it or Googled it or anything, and it comes up with adverts. Anyway, that happened, and I reached out to this company and I said, how much is it going to cost for these bass traps and stuff? And they said, oh, we love your channel. We can send some stuff over to you.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, very, very nice, guys.
you.
Thank you very much. That's really nice of you. And they're snowed under with work at the moment, and I think they're going to try and send some out to me next week. But here's the great thing about this stuff they're sending me. There's some bass, as I say, there's some bass traps and there's some broadband stuff for the walls. It's got LED lighting built into it. Oh, yes.
The win.
I'm like, score.
Man,
Yes.
you remember when I was messaging you, hassling you for the LED? Where'd you get
Yeah,
I had them. I still got them all saved, and every time I look at them, I just go, "Oh, I know if I'd put them all in my desk, I'm just gonna be so anal about them all the time." And I've decided not to do it for now because I just know it'll take away time from creating.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but maybe maybe I'll put it on the back burner till I finish my album as a gift to myself. So,
Yeah, those sort of things can become time consuming. One of the other videos that I made on my channel was about building my desk.
I love that desk.
Oh, God, that was so time consuming, that video. I mean, building the desk was hard enough anyway, but filming yourself doing it, that was 3 months.
It's a beautiful desk. Mine's not
Yeah.
built, but it kind of inspired my setup. Just seeing that desk was very inspiring. So
It was all about,
beautiful.
again, the productivity thing. About I wanted that keyboard to be in front of me. Previously, I'd had my keyboard off to the side. And these are first world problems, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I
Fuck
had
it.
to turn. I had to turn to play. Poor me. Oh my! I need it right there in front of me. How dare the world make me turn? So I, at great expense in time and money, I built a desk so I don't have to do this.
Don't whinge too much. Somebody will cancel you. Get cancelled for turning culture.
So Yeah, but it has been good, really, really good. I love it, really do. But it costs a little bit more than if I'd bought one, I expect. People always ask me in the comments, because I don't think I mentioned in the video how much it costs. They're like, well, how much did that cost? And I go, you know, wood's expensive in Australia.
Yeah.
Wood really is
Yeah,
expensive.
$1 worth shit. It's so depressing. I recently got that Spark amp, and I'm watching all these people cry on the Positive Grid web on their Facebook, going, "I paid for it in December and it hasn't come," and they're all crying.
yeah.
And I look at the price; it's like $170 they paid.
I
I paid $400 and had to
Oh.
wait, and I'm still not bitching about it. Like, you
And
know,
how are you finding that? Because it looks awesome.
oh man, it's brilliant. There was an issue with it, but they addressed it really quickly for me. And look, so it got here. I did a review on it, but I played it plugged in, so I hadn't really had a good listen through the speaker.
Yeah,
And then over the next day, there was a real annoying buzzing sound, and of course, you're going to get that through high gain. But it was different when I would touch the strings of my guitar. It was cutting out, and when I touched
Okay.
the lead too, same
Like
thing.
an earth
That's
thing.
an earth problem, definitely. And then
Yeah.
I pulled out the plug, and it was only a 2-prong plug. I'm like, are you fucking shitting me?
Oh no.
They spent all this time making this amazing amp, and they didn't
And it's
earth
not
it. So,
Oh my God.
so I contacted my little contact I have through Positive Grid, and was like, "Look, man, I looked on the forums, and it looks like everyone's going through this. What the fuck?" So I just straight away tried to buy a replacement power supply that was earthed, hoping, and got all the same specifications, hoping it would sort it, because the Positive Grid guys said, "Look, we'll send you out a new one." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, it took 5 months to get the amp, so I've got to come up with a solution." So I bought this new one. It got here and didn't work. It still wasn't happening,
no.
but then amazingly enough, I got the new power supply in 5 days from China. I don't know how they pulled that off,
I know.
and it fixed
Incredible.
it. It fixed it perfectly, and it's now running beautifully. So,
When we talk about that sort of thing, I bet everyone wants to have a whinge about this. Postage. Oh, postage at the moment, right? Every time I order something on eBay, people tell me after it hasn't come for 3 weeks, coronavirus is what they tell me.
yeah,
But every time I order it on Amazon, it comes in 2 days.
Yeah.
Same country. So I know that the post office prioritise Amazon, but there's some weird stuff happens, right? I ordered a guitar from Adelaide the other day. I bought a lovely, nice new nylon string Taylor guitar, which I'm very much enjoying. I ordered it on Tuesday afternoon, and I had it here in Perth on Thursday afternoon, 2 days later, just like that. But if I ordered a packet of screws for my Fender, because I'm replacing on my Strat, I'm replacing the pick guard, and I wanted nice new screws for it. So being OCD, couldn't just go down to Bunnings and get screws. I had to have Fender screws to the correct specification. And ordered them. That's 3 weeks ago, coming from Melbourne, and they still haven't come. By Australia Post. Now, stuff in the US, I've got a lot of stuff coming from the US. That takes like 3 weeks to get out of the US, with their postal service. But once it leaves there, it goes to Singapore, Sydney, over to Perth. That takes about 4 days. But
yeah.
America seems to be really slow with their postage. Uber slow.
The post is crazy at the moment. I ordered this Apple Watch, and it was like 3 suburbs away.
Yeah.
It took a week to get here through Officeworks, and that new power supply came from China. Got here in 5 days. I'm like, what is going on? Anyway, so I'm going to wrap it up with one last question for you, and then what we're going to do, I'll probably say goodbye to you after we wrap up, and then I'm going to run this competition, unless you want to hang around for it.
I've got places to go and people to see. So
I'm just going to hit the random number generator, and whoever is going to be the winner, they're going to get a copy of Aurea Pro and Drummer GOG 5. In a bundle. So
awesome.
So the last question I'm going to hit you up with today is, and it's a loaded question.
Oh.
When's the best time, do you think, for somebody to start creating?
Well, I'm going to give the stereotypical answer, but there's really good reasons for it. Um, Now is the best time with whatever equipment you have. So if you've only got an iPhone or an Android phone, and the only way you can record yourself is by just going to the camera feature and recording a video of you singing the song, then that's what you should do right now. And if that's the only thing that you've got to learn about mic placement and the environment you're recording in and all that sort of stuff, then learn about it that way. There's just no substitute for doing it, with whatever equipment you've got. So, yeah, the worst thing that can happen as a result of channels like mine is the idea that you must have, say, studio monitors before you start mixing or whatever people get hooked up. And I'm really against that.
Yeah.
I've blocked people from my channel who go on about that sort of thing too much. Honestly, even when they haven't sworn or anything, I'll just read their comments and I think, oh, one of you people, I don't need you around here, and I just block them. And you know what happens when you block people on YouTube?
They make
When you hide them?
They make new nicknames and come back.
No, they don't know that you've blocked them.
Oh,
So
really?
they're typing comments on your videos, and they don't know that no one can see them.
That's the best. I had no
Yeah.
idea of that.
Yeah. So they're going, yeah, bastard, and all that, right? And then they're going, their ego's not getting fed because no one's liking their comment or going along with them or agreeing with them. You see, I get a lot of pleasure and satisfaction out of the knowledge of it. They're all going to make other accounts now, of course. But yeah, so even when my thing about my channel, I know I'm diverting away from what the original question was, but so my thing is about building cultures.
Yep.
I don't think you can purely get rid of negativity just by using banning tools, right? So what you give is what you get. I try and stay positive on the channel because I want to be a positive voice in people's lives. I don't want to whinge too much, get too negative on things. That's just my choice. If people want to be negative on their channels, that's cool. That can be their bag. But for me, it's about moving forward, being positive, getting refuge from this crazy world that we live in by being creative and doing your thing, right? Getting solace in that. And just the joy of learning something new in life. It's just the business, right? So I just want to be that. When those people start coming in, like they're going, oh, you shouldn't really be mixing on headphones. That's a really bad thing to do. And I believe they have that voice as well in real life, right? Then I do. Sometimes I just go, see ya.
Yeah.
Don't need you here.
Yeah.
Bye. I just don't dig it at all in any way, because it's such an elitist thing. I've spent so much time in my life poor, dead poor, right? And I didn't not have studio monitors because I thought I was so clever I could live with that. And I couldn't afford them.
Yep.
That was it. Full stop. And I wasn't going to be able to afford them at any time in the near future. So someone preaching to me about me having to do them before I made music was not at all helpful. So that's what I'm really strong on that.
Yeah.
It's absolute rubbish. Now I can afford now some of the stuff, and since I've been doing YouTube, now I get sent some stuff as well. But a lot of stuff in my studio was bought on Gumtree, it was secondhand, all that sort of stuff as well. And was built up over years, many years, the bits and pieces. I didn't, I haven't had a pot of money sitting around to buy whatever I wanted for my studio. So when people are fortunate enough to be able to buy it, then yeah, sure, I'd like to make the videos to try and help them make that choice about how to spend their money as well. But, I can't stress enough. I mean, probably if you're able to watch the video, then you've got a device good enough to record music on.
100%.
So yeah, I just think that's where it's at, and that's the blessed time we live in. It's amazing, incredible.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm the same. Like I most of this album I've been working on for like nearly 7 years has been done just on an iPad and a little interface and the instruments that I had, and I've only really been able to afford the stuff that I have at the moment over the last year because I have an incurable chronic blood disorder, and And I'm
Well,
allowed to access my superannuation because of it.
how awesome is that?
Yeah, because doctor said, "Hey, you might
Great.
die soon. You've got a blood clot in your head." Yay! So here's some super. So, I mean, I've had a few people saying, "How have you afforded that?" It's like, no, because doctors told me I'm going to die. Yeah.
Isn't it funny,
It's not
hey?
glamorous.
The situations we find ourselves in. So that guitar that I bought from Taylor from the Adelaide music store came over to me, and I immediately had to put it in for repair. It was really sad. So this has got a link to what you were just saying, by the way.
Yeah.
so so it had a buzz at a certain frequency. Whenever I played a note of G, there was this vibration on it. Turned out to be something super simple. It was just a wire inside, right?
Yeah.
But so I had to take it over to this place in Perth. He's like the accredited Taylor, repair guy, luthier probably. But all the music stores when I'm in them, because I frequent a few of them in Perth, they're all overloaded with work, repairing work.
Yeah,
They're
right.
not taking new jobs until 2021.
Wow.
All of them, right? Unless it's warranty work. And I was talking to him. I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "Well, all the musos that normally gig, all their gigs are shut down, right? So they're all either on Job Keeper or Job Seeker." And Scott Morrison's been paying this extra $5.50 every fortnight, right? So they've sat around and gone, that crappy old guitar that I've needed repaired for the last 5 years, I can get it done now.
Yeah, right.
I thought, isn't it wonderful? All the luthiers are now just getting all. I mean, that's what a stimulus package is for at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
So it's really awesome. But it's just lovely the way the world works. Out of all of that misfortune, luthiers of the world celebrate. Yay, coronavirus! Woohoo!
Look, I hate saying it. Look, because I've lost somebody close from the virus, but I hate social contact with people anyway. It hasn't really changed my life much. I've kind of thrived off it a little bit, and I feel guilty saying it. That sucks. And even this week's been incredibly hard, losing somebody close to you from it. I kind of was sitting there going, "Shit, I shouldn't have said that out loud. That it hasn't affected me, because now it has." But
Yeah, right.
let's just hope we do get through it. And
Yeah, look,
it ends soon.
me, Touchwood, myself and Susie have been really, really fortunate. But we've had friends and family members who have lost jobs, that they felt were very, very secure because of it, and it's very sudden, and it's a massive impact on their life all of a sudden when that happens. So even that side of things, without the actual illness, I've got a good friend in the UK who's a doctor, who had it, and he was saying to me early on, "This is serious, Mike." He said, and he's a tough guy. Like he said, I couldn't believe how he had it, like he was sick in hospital with it for 3 weeks. It's kind of annoying when you get these conspiracy theorists out there who try and say it doesn't exist, and you just want to say to them, how about you just go for a visit down to your local hospital and talk to a doctor or a nurse who's dealing with this crap. On the other hand, please don't do that, idiot. But but yeah, that sort of irritates me a little bit. I'm going to admit that early on with it, I was cynical.
Yep,
When I
same.
was just, the only thing I knew about it was people were buying a lot of toilet paper and I couldn't get any, and I was like, oh God, they're making a mountain out of a molehill. So many people more die of the flu every year and da da da. So I was definitely that, and it's a good thing in life to know when you're wrong about things and change with new information, right? It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm not with that. I probably offended a few more people. They do get upset when you disagree with them on this, but yeah.
Fuck 'em on that shit. Sorry.
But yeah, I just think, but much the same as you. My life is spent not just in this house, but in this freaking room. So there hasn't been much of a change of routine. But Susie's had to work from home. She loves going out to work. She really enjoys it. She really likes her colleagues and always spending time with them. So we had to have a talk before it started, that when we knew lockdown was coming. We'll say, how are we going to manage this? Because this could put like a lot of strain on a relationship.
Yeah.
Because we one of those couples that we adore each other, but we definitely need our own space and do our own thing as well. We're not like together all the time kind of stuff. And so we had that talk, but it's gone really, really well. We have a little bit of naughtiness by the kettle a couple of times a day, which I'm going to miss when she goes back to work, you know.
I love it. Yeah.
We're very touchy-feely with each other.
There's no action around my kettle, let me tell you that. It's just
Oh,
tea.
right.
Just,
It's just tea.
yeah,
Just tea.
just tea.
No.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really depressing. That's more depressing than coronavirus. So, like, I'll just say, end on coronavirus, my thing. If you follow me on Facebook on my personal page, you'll know that I don't really hold back. I will say
Yeah.
a lot of what my friends don't say, and I know want to, and I'll say it as blunt as fuck, and I don't really care. Because I've been down the conspiracy hole. I went down there for a couple of years and believed a whole lot of shit that was stupid. And now I look at things and go, you people are the same people as saying the government's inept and they're shit. And you actually think these people could work together to create these elaborate conspiracies? The only thing they can do is fill their pockets. And we all know that. And we have an opportunity now with all this to actually destroy them and to bring them down to the level they should be. So hopefully that's the one thing that does come out of this, that we do fight back a little bit and say, you know, fuck you to the rich. We're already seeing it with celebrities who are people like Madonna, who are showing that they're, without their fans around them all the time to put them up, they're starting to look insane, and they have no real value to them. So there is a lot of positives that are coming out of it. Unfortunately, we're losing lives, and sometimes with great change, it does come at the loss of lives.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, I think, you know, just on a more spiritual level, like in life itself, you eventually, hopefully, learn that it's actually through adversity that you grow the most, that you become a better person, that you actually cope with life better when you've experienced adversity. And so I do think then on this larger macro scale as a society, through this adversity, we can grow, you know. And I know that there's real lives are being lost and all that, and I don't mean to demean that with some philosophical idea, but I just think it's true. And so I think, and you know what's highlighted to me is the greed which is there. You know, the obsession with economic growth and what have you, that even at the risk of many people dying. And I'm just going to qualify that with saying, I don't mean that when my local cafe owner is eager to open again, I don't think they're being greedy. I think they just want to make their living,
For sure.
you know, because they're not wealthy people. But I think on the political level, that's not the case. I think that whether it's, you know, different parts of the world, people who control states or areas or whole countries are so eager to open up and get everything going again. I believe it's to do with greed.
Yep.
And
they're a bunch of elephants.
Yeah, that's right. And they seem to be so happy. And it's also highlighted this dreadful attitude we have towards elderly people as well, as if they're this cannon fodder that, you know, well, it's only old people dying, don't we? You know.
Yeah, they don't have wisdom or anything we could learn from. No, they're just a burden on someone, not me. Yeah, fuck. Bunch of elephants.
But you know, I know you're very. I'm giving myself a little bit of liberty to talk a bit more openly than I normally do here on your show, and I don't do it on my channel, and that's like really on purpose, because it's one thing to be concerned about the way the world's going, and there's different reasons to be concerned about the world in all sorts of different levels. And that's one thing, but I think you've also got to take care of your spiritual health, of your mental health. And I think a lot of us, sometimes me, but a lot of people can suffer mental health issue just by absorbing themselves in the news of this world at the moment.
For sure.
So I'm really happy on Facebook that I belong to about, say, 40 groups which are only dedicated to music and recording. Because my feed on Facebook, when I open it up, is mostly about music and recording. And and when we do that, I know it may seem like a bit of a cop out to, oh, let's ignore the world and go into the
No.
studio, but it's not. It's about balance. It's about realizing the world actually is still a wonderful place, full of. I mean, you know this from busking. There's amazing human beings live in your neighborhood who are not assholes, who are just incredible. You know, and from busking, that's what I've learned more than anything about the world is full of good people,
Yeah.
really good people. But if you watch that narrow view of the world through the media, you can really begin to believe that everyone's out to get everyone, you know? And I just don't think it's true if you really try and experience real connections with people. And I happen to know because I stalk people on Facebook that that the people who watch my channel are made up of all kinds of different opinions and outlooks on life, many different countries they come from, so they've got different religions, different politics, different views, you know, which are different to me on things like coronavirus as well. And but I know some of those people, like they contact me, and it may surprise you, and I'm just going to say it out there, people who disagree with you politically really still have hearts
Yeah.
and feelings and love their families and, you know, really are wonderful people. And you may find some of their views even abhorrent in a bizarre way, but, you know, when I connect with them about the music, they're the same as me. You know, and I that's why I don't really want to bring it to the channel. I just want that safe haven of here we can all be one, even if it's just that we care how to point a microphone at an acoustic guitar. At least we can all come together on that, mind you. There's still those assholes who are going to disagree with it should be 12 centimeters, not 8. But
I totally agree, man. Like, you know, every day I do the show and it's about apps and that's what I keep it to. And that's why I have these Friday shows, to have that open, free-flowing conversation, to express these things without you know, to have these elaborate questions. And so you can see that other side of people, because it is about balance and mental health. And
it's really, really important.
we need to care.
I have particular views about religion, for example, okay? And what I realized about that was when I looked out at other people and I constantly went, oh my God, they're so narrow minded. Oh my God. Then I kind of had to admit that in that view, I had become narrow minded. I was so self assured of my own opinion. Right. So on purpose, about a year and a half ago, I had to knock on the door during the day. I was making a video. And it was some people from a certain religious group who knock on doors, who normally I would just slam the door with,
I normally hide.
or hide, or politely say something. And I had this thing where I went, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to listen to them, but not from a perspective of, I want to exercise this tolerance I'm always preaching about.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I was very upfront with them, like, hey, if you think on like your little project that you're going to convert, then you've got a long road ahead of you, which may lead you nowhere. So just up front, that's not what this is about. But I'm into tolerance, so I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to ask you about your stuff, and I'm going to be respectful. And if you ask, I'm going to tell you what I believe. And so for about the last year and a half, they come round. I give them a glass of water because they're not allowed to come in the house. And no, I mean, their rules, they're not allowed in the house.
Yeah.
Like
I thought you put a bowl down at the door and said,
No. So they're allowed in the garden, and they don't drink coffee. So I don't give them coffee, but I have some hot chocolate now for them, or a glass of Coke if it's a warm day. And they come and they tell me about their thing that they believe.
Yeah.
And I say, that's really interesting that you believe that. And I don't believe that at all. But it's really interesting that you believe it, and it's just I tell you, some people think I'm crazy, but I do it, and it's been a great exercise in because there's a lot of people like me out there who think they're so open-minded, but
Yep.
if they really, really look, no, 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 you're just as prejudiced as the people you call prejudiced. So just try and be. It's been a good exercise in how do you remain respectful with someone who you entirely disagree with, like, and I do entirely disagree with them. So there you go.
I love it. And I think to myself, what a wonderful
That's
world.
possibly my second most favourite song ever. I still listen to it. It's not worn on me, and I don't mind telling you that "Imagine" by John Lennon is my favourite song ever.
Yeah.
So there you go, a couple of bonuses for you there.
Thank you very much. What a lovely
no
way.
worries.
What a lovely way to end. Thank you for spending some time having a
Absolutely
chat.
my pleasure.
It's
You're a very good interviewer, by the way. You're a bit of a Graham Norton or something. You teased things out of me that normally people can't tease. And I think so. Awesome job. You know, the thing about when you're interviewing someone is how do you make them feel at home and then have a conversation. And that's what you've done with me today. I don't normally have a problem with conversation, but I felt absolutely at home and it was easy to share. So you did a great job. Really, much respect for that because it's not an easy thing to do at all.
Thank you very much. I have had some experience working in journalism and stuff, and I was a volunteer for people living with HIV dementia for a long time. So active listening, and you learn those things, you know. But thank you very much. It's
No, can I just say one more thing before? Because Keith Lane saying, try this one, Mike. Ask them if they're open-minded. If they ask them if they can imagine you saying anything to change their beliefs. It's a good one, Keith. And it was the fact that Keith mentioned open-minded, because one of the greatest things I've ever heard about open-mindedness is by the great Tim Minchin, who I adore. Yes. And he said, if you open your mind enough, if you open up your mind enough, your brain falls out. So.
Followed by something about being a ginger.
That's right. Only a ginger can call another ginger.
Yeah, with your minja.
All right, then. I'm going to let you go and do your draw. People are waiting. Thanks, everyone in the chat. It's been wonderful. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much,
Do we just end
Mike.
this call now? Do I hang up on you? Or?
You can hang up and I'll run through your website and all that, and we'll do this prize.
Cool.
And thank you very much, Mike. Have a wonderful day.
Adios.
We'll catch you on Creative Source.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging around for the show. I hope you enjoyed the interview. All the links to Mike's music, his YouTube, his website, all of that are in the description. We are going to quickly squat over here now to announce the winner of this competition that we've been running. So if you have entered, we've got 9 people who are going to possibly win this one copy of Audio Pro with Drumagog 5. And all we're going to do is run the mouse over to the generate. We're going to click it once. And number 9, Tom Rochelle, who's actually here in the chat, has just won a copy of Audio Pro for iPad with Drumagog 5. What I'll need you to do, Tom, is shoot me an email and I will give your email address to Wavelabs and they will contact you with the code. That's how we're doing that this time around. So congratulations, Tom Rochelle. Thank you for being an amazing supporter of the channel. I will quickly just say, next week, man, we have some really cool stuff coming up on the channel. We've got a bunch of different apps that I'll be reviewing, and I just want to let you know we have an amazing interview next week with an amazing artist by the name of Iota, who is a multi-Helpman award-winning theatre performer, musician, and an actor who was in Mad Max Fury Road. So we have an absolute banger of an interview next week coming up with Iota. So I'll be posting about that in all the usual groups throughout the week. So you definitely don't want to miss that. I rewatched Mad Max Fury Road last night just to see his part in it. And if you have seen Mad Max, he was the dude on the front of the truck with the electric guitar shooting flames out of it. That dude is on my show here next Friday or Thursday, wherever you are in the world. So thanks again for everybody for supporting the channel. Thank you, Mike, for being such a great subject to chat with. A great friend, actually. He's a great friend of mine. Thank you, everybody, for today, and I hope you have a great weekend coming up. As usual, I will say my parting words. Keep rocking, keep making music, stay gangster, stay good to each other, and keep doing the things that make you happy. And make as many mistakes as you can. I'll see you next week, everybody. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye.